we started to smell what we thought were donuts or some other kind of baked good. So because we had so much time, we decided we were just going to follow our noses and investigate where the smell was coming from.
You know what really makes us mad? Is wasting money on CDs with only one or two good songs.
Yeah. Tell them about punk.
Snapple?
Remember when Snapple was cool?
Getting Snapples.
Remember Fruitopia?
I remember Kiwi and everything.
Yeah. Watermelon kiwi.
The big Kiwi push of the, what?
Strawberry
kiwi.
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Late 90s.
I remember we did the 30-hour famine, and everybody was, like, getting sodas at the grocery store that afternoon. And I was like, but we're not supposed to. It said we could only have water. And the youth group leader was like, it's fine. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to get this Fruitopia. And that's what I got, a Fruitopia. Because I thought, it's not as bad for you as soda. Not thinking that it probably had as much sugar in it as
every bit as much. Terrible for you.
Yeah, but it was just the same thing, just non-carbonated.
Which of your smoothies are healthy? None of them.
They're all yogurt. Blended yogurts.
You know, we don't use the yogurt base. It's just like fruit puree, but it's like there's sugar added to that.
Yeah.
And then
you get some vitamins, that's about it, but it's better to eat
not that much.
It's better to eat fruit than it is to eat candy. So, there's that. Nature's fruit. Nature's candy. Fruit is nature's fruit.
You can't use cows on film. Gotta use horses. Anyway.
That seems like a great way to start the show.
Sure.
What's up, posters? You got in my head last week when you were talking about calling our listeners posers. So, I don't know how to start the show anymore. Hey guys, how's it go? Oh, no, not guys. That's gendered. Hey everybody. You all, everybody. That's a relevant reference.
That's the intro.
You all, everybody. I love that I'm about to reference the specific scene I'm thinking of.
It's relevant because we're talking about 2007.
Hey, yeah, we were still watching Lost in 2007.
It's like the second season of it or something.
Let's see. Lost?
Or maybe it was the first season.
2007. Season 3.
Oh, geez. Really?
Yep. That's the season when it got good again, because season 2 was bad.
Yeah. I love hearing people like, so it started Lost?
Why?
Oh.
The only reason to watch Lost is that you were watching it in 2007.
Yeah. And then you stop after season 3.
No. I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, but if you're watching it again.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Like on our rewatch, yeah, you're not making it past season 3.
And you're only rewatching it out of, like, nostalgia?
Yeah, you can be nostalgic for 13 years ago.
Yeah, but I feel like yeah.
Welcome to Lost Cast.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are tons of those, actually.
Yeah,
for
the downfall of Lost, one episode at a time. Not Penny's boot.
You all, everybody.
Anyway,
yeah, we're leaving. Show. Yeah, we're leaving that in.
That's the intro to the show.
Welcome to Punk Lotto Pod, the game where no one wins. I'm your co-host Justin Hensley.
I am your other co-host Dylan Hensley,
and we are without a guest again. 2 weeks in a row, our guests have canceled on us, so...
We know who's not coming back.
So, this is the show where we use the Rate Your Music Punk charts, and we choose one album and one EP at random. I reworded it. How'd that sound?
Say it again.
What?
I wasn't paying attention.
I'm not saying it again.
All right.
If it was important, you would have heard it the first time.
It was better.
Sure. I just flipped it. This is our last regular episode of the year 2019.
Of the decade.
Yes, very accurate. And do we want to save it for the end of the episode where we tell you what we're doing next week, or do we want to just say it here?
Wait.
Okay.
Yeah,
so what a ride it's been, huh? This
that wasn't supposed to be funny, I guess. What a ride it's been.
We'll save our recapping for later. But you may note that there are 4 weeks left. Well, no. There are not 4 weeks left. Are there?
What?
Did we plan enough episodes for the year?
This goes up the
11th?
Week of the 11th.
Oh, you're right. Okay. So, yeah.
So there's 2 weeks left in the year.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're on track.
Stay on target. God, we're all over the place. Seeing as this is our last episode of the year, regular episode of the year, we're not going to miss a week. We'll still be posting regularly for the rest of the year.
We're going to post a brand new episode on Christmas Day.
Are we?
Yeah.
Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
It's the 25th.
Am I?
No one will listen.
I don't know when I'm going to post that episode, to be honest.
We'll need things to do.
I guess. That means I'm going to have to, edit way in advance.
Yeah.
As usual, we like to take a look at the Rate Your Music charts for the year of the albums we drew. And this week we got the year 2007. Now here's where the samples come in. Taking a look at the Rate Your Music charts. Number 1 and number 2 and number 3. I don't give a shit about.
You were going to ask me.
Oh, yes.
So number 1 and number 2 are LCD Sound System, Sound of Silver, and the National Boxer. And you were going to ask me which of the two I would rather listen to.
Yes.
I have a kind of a running joke grudge with the National. Ugh. The National. I just think they're super, super boring. They have one good song that they didn't even write.
Who wrote that one?
It was the person who arranged all of the strings and orchestration on the next album. It's not this album, but it's the next one.
Oh, I probably know that one because the next album is the one that was an in-store play when I worked at Barnes & Noble. And it was one of the ones where I was like, I like this album because it was the one of 5 records that I could stand listening to every single day for 90 days.
Yeah, I saw, what was it? Somebody described the National as it's music for middle-class white people to complain about their problems like no one else has ever had anything bad happen. Something along those lines. Yeah, super boring music for depressed rich people.
And I also don't believe they should be on here. They're listed as post-punk revival. I strongly disagree with that. It's just indie rock.
Yeah, it's that they were clearly inspired by Interpol thing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't think Interpol should even really be on the punk charts. Because I don't feel like they're even that post-punk.
No.
But, I don't know. But, I mean, LCD Sound System is...
not a punk band.
Is electronic indie music. It's not... They put dance punk, but...
Dance punk is not actually a punk genre. That's the part that always bugged me about them. At the way Rate Your Music works is how dance punk is tagged as a punk subgenre. It's not. It's an electronic music subgenre. But I would rather listen to LCD Sound System than the National, I think. And they're not a band I even really care about. So there goes our indie cred.
Yeah. I saw the guy from LCD Sound System make drone noises at Moogfest for an hour in a concrete room, and it was awful.
I saw a better drone set. I saw Boris play some drone songs, if you call them songs, but...
drones.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. So that was better.
Yeah, I would much rather see Boris.
Yeah. I don't even give a shit. We're not going to name everything on this list. So just call out what you see as interesting. Number 4 is one that you know very, very well.
I loved it.
It's Between the Buried and Me's Colors. You were obsessed with Between the Buried and Me.
I loved them for like a year.
Yeah. And in that time, you listened to them so many times that they're still in my most listened artists on Last FM.
And those are long songs too.
How did you do that?
I don't know. Every single day?
Yeah. Which album was your favorite? Was it Colors?
It was probably Colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's fine. It's good for what it is. I think I could listen to that record and everything earlier. Like, I could listen to their first 5 albums. Well, 4 albums. I mean, you can skip The Anatomy. That's just a covers record.
Yeah.
But I could listen to their first 4 records again and probably still enjoy it. So, but I'm not going to.
I remember I bought the Great Misdirect on CD. It's probably one of the last CDs I ever bought at Target, like maybe the week it came out. And I was like, this is fine.
I think one of the last CDs I bought, I remember buying, what was it? The Wavering Radiant by ISIS.
What?
Was that their last album?
In the Absence of Truth was the one with the cocoon thing.
Yeah,
right?
I bought that one. But I bought the next one too.
Yeah. What is that one called?
I think it's The Wavering Radiant.
Probably. You bought that on CD?
Yeah. In college.
Oh.
It's like when I could have just ripped it.
I know.
I remember buying, probably around the same time, probably the same year, maybe even at the exact same time, Crack the Sky by Mastodon.
Mastodon.
So I was buying Brown Pants Metal CDs.
That's who's
longer than I was buying anything else on CD.
Well, those are the type of people who are buying CDs, though.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Well,
Still, I mean, I don't know. Hardcore has decided to embrace the CD again for whatever reason.
It's a garbage format.
Audio wise,
it was that. Yeah, I mean, it was that time period before I started buying records, before I had a turntable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regrettable purchases.
Yeah. I'm skipping all the way down to number 10. That is Andrew Jackson's Jihad, or as they're now called, AJJ. Their album People Who Can Eat People Are the Luckiest People in the World. This is our introduction to AJJ.
It was
a lot of people's introduction, though, because it came out on Asian Man Records, which I believe this is the first of the first of their albums to come out on Asian Man, right?
Yeah.
Because I think they did the reissue of Candy Cigarettes and Cap Guns and all that later.
Yeah.
Because those were self-released. Yeah, this is the starting point for AJJ. Well, maybe. It depends on...
It's the furthest back you need to go.
Right, you don't need to go back to those earlier ones. There's some good songs on those earlier ones, but...
There's some really bad songs.
There's some really regrettable songs, and they would even tell you that themselves. I mean, they even changed their name because they regretted the name.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
This
is back when, like, really silly names were, like, really popular, especially in folk punk. Like, everybody had a dumb name.
And, yeah, and this was also an era of, like, edgy comedy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. This album, it's not... It's got some iffy moments on it now, but it aged much better than anything beforehand. So I would start here with the asterisk of, remember, this was 2007.
Yeah.
And they were, and even for 2007, they were pretty progressive as far as their thought processes. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know. They've clearly gotten wiser.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And they've reworked some lyrics when they play it live now. So,
yeah.
Which I got to see them 2 years ago play this. No, last year. No, 2 years ago, because it was the 10-year anniversary. They played this record in its entirety, and it was great. And the first time I saw them was between this record and the next one, Can't Maintain. I saw them at Fest 7 for the first time, and it was great. It was amazing. And I do kind of miss the early era of AJJ, of just the guitar and the upright bass. But
I saw them at Fest, but I saw them just before Fest. They played Can't Maintain for the anniversary. They changed some of those lyrics too, reworked some of those.
Yeah,
That was great. A friend of mine said who lives in Phoenix and grew up here, lived in Mesa, and said that he saw them on the light rail in Phoenix. Like he was just riding the light rail, and they got on and like played a song, and then they got off at like the next stop or whatever.
Did they film that?
And I want to say that I've seen that video, but I can't find it anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, there was like a video of them playing on like, I assumed it was a bus at the time, but maybe it was the train. Huh, that's kind of neat. I remember seeing that. Yeah, they're one of my favorite bands ever.
Hey, the next one after that is a record you liked a lot.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I don't know a single song on this record.
Fireworks?
Fireworks?
Escape Plan? Fireworks?
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 Is this the one with Black Bubblegum?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I like the song Black Bubblegum. I don't think I care about anything else on this album.
All right.
I saw it.
You liked it a lot.
I liked it a lot. I have no memory of any of these songs other than Black Bubblegum.
You saw them, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw them. It was this weird show that I was... okay. So, I... Post-college, after last week when I was talking about failing out of college, this was during that time period where I was still...
Part 2 of the story.
Engaged, and my now ex lived in Asheville, and she really liked the band As I Lay Dying, which
oh no, I
had introduced her to, and even I was like at that point like, really? You like this? V problematic. So, but he paid his debts to society. That's why they're allowed to go back on tour now.
He served his time.
So she wanted to see As I Lay Dying, and they were playing in Knoxville. So I was like, huh, okay. Well,
that's when you say have fun.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have many outlets for fun, so I was just like, all right, I'm going to go to Knoxville, see As I Lay Dying. But also on that show was Dillinger Escape Plan. So what it was there were 2 different tours coming through Knoxville at the exact same time. And so they just combined both of these tours into the same show.
Ugh.
And you want to know what that lineup was? So we have...
I kind of remember some of them, but yeah.
Bottom up or top down? Bottom up.
From the bottom.
From the bottom. Off with their heads. I want to say the opening band was Whitechapel. This is when Whitechapel was still kind of new. I think they're from Tennessee, so I think they were like the local, but they were like well known enough that I think they were actually on the tour. Yeah, it was Whitechapel. Yeah, they're from Knoxville themselves. That's so funny that they were playing that show. I wonder if they were on that tour. Then I'm trying to remember what the lineup went. So then I want to say Evergreen Terrace played, and this is like 2008 Evergreen Terrace, so not the heyday of them. Then it was Still Remains, the metalcore band with keyboards. That was like their distinction.
Yeah.
And then it was I'm trying to remember who it was after them. I bought a Still Remains t-shirt. I remember that. It was too small. It was black on black ink on black shirt.
And then you lost it.
Did I lose it?
Yeah, you said you lost it, and then we went over to your former roommate's house at one point, and he was wearing it.
Which roommate? He was wearing? Oh, weird.
Yeah, he was just wearing it. And you're like, that's my shirt.
I don't remember that at all. He can have it. It's too small. It doesn't fit. Oh, now I remember. I looked up the show. Yes, it was Whitechapel, Still Remains, Evergreen Terrace, August Burns Red.
Oh, my God.
The Dillinger Escape Plan, and As I Lay Dying. I remember liking Still Remains because I was like one of those guys who was just like, I liked the opener better.
Yeah.
That kid. I didn't hate Evergreen Terrace, but they were definitely much older than the rest of the people on stage. August Burns Red were boring as hell. As I Lay Dying was very boring, but
yeah,
they kept running off stage between songs. It was weird. It was like I don't know if they were running and going doing like bumps of coke or something, or
they had to.
or if they were just this weird. Nothing can be on the stage except for the amps. I don't know. It was strange. And Dillinger Escape Plan. Dillinger Escape Plan were good. I remember being just very impressed with their antics on stage and them ripping off Botch with the lights facing the audience. Yeah, so that's my
there's
Escape Plan
not
story.
A whole lot else on this list that I want to talk about, but I do want to point out how this top 40, I mean even like the top 80, is music that I distinctly remember from 2007.
Oh yeah.
Like, and the thing with Rate Your Music is it tends to be a little bit revision-y.
Mm-hmm.
But this year in particular, the stuff that's at the top of the list or that's high up is music that was really popular then.
Yeah.
And this is like that year where metalcore was like kind of credible. Like, and you see a little more of like the pop punk stuff like Paramore and stuff like that a little further back just because of the bias of Rate Your Music. But this is there's not like it's not like obscure records are getting bumped to the top of the list because they're like critical favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are pretty popular, successful records that are apparently the kind of records that Rate Your Music fans like. So
it's strange because you're right. Most of the time you would just see like the cool stuff, like the stuff that's still considered cool in the top. But this feels more of its time. Maybe that means 2007 wasn't really a great year overall, and these were just the best records.
Right. I mean, it's like there's stuff like Dance Gavin Dance and Devil Sold His Soul and Fall of Troy and August Burns Red.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that I don't know anyone who's revisiting.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting little time capsule on this chart.
Yeah. Well, we can get into the album if you're ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure. So, for this episode, we got number 117 on the album charts, and it is American Steel and their album Destroy Their Future. American Steel are a punk rock band from Oakland, California that formed in 1995. This was released on October 2nd, 2007 on Fat Wreck Chords. Destroy Their Future is American Steel's fourth full-length album, and this is the first American Steel album in 6 years. The gap in time comes from the fact that they changed their name to Communique and released 4 albums between Jagged Thoughts and Destroy Their Future. A fact that I have constantly forgotten that they had done. I don't think I've ever
listened to those records.
Me either. It's the same people. It's just a little bit more electronic indie rock based. So they changed their name because they're like their new sound didn't fit their name. So they were like, well, let's just do something. Let's just call it something else. So it's the same players, maybe some extra musicians, but yeah, it's just a different style of music. So, yeah, I don't think I've ever listened to any one of those albums either. Some people really hate those records. I don't know if it's just people who are like super into American Steel when they changed their name to Communique or what, but yeah, I need to dig into those a little more. But
so, yeah, Spotify only has Poison Arrows.
Mm.
And then like what, 2 EPs.
Yeah.
So
They
they aren't pushing that stuff themselves.
Right. So the personnel on this
Check
record
this out.
is Ryan Massey on guitar and vocals, Rory Henderson on guitar and vocals, John Peck on bass, and Scott Healy on drums. And I believe the record was recorded by the band themselves. So, yeah, that's the big stuff out of the way. So,
It sounds really good for them recording it themselves.
yeah, it does. It does. Well, I think his studio has become a place, like I think it's Ryan Massey's studio, and it is like a place that legit bands have recorded at.
Ryan is the one with the beard.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
The red-haired guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He sings, 3 or 4 songs on this album? And then Rory sings the majority of the rest of them.
Yeah.
It was recorded at Sharkbite Studios, which has recorded Mr. T Experience, Light the City, Cathedral, High on Fire, Machine Head, a lot of metal.
Weird.
I don't know if it's his, maybe it's not his studio. Converge recorded the Hellchild split there. It is an Oakland studio. It was established in 94, so maybe this is, because American Steel was 95, first album. Either it's his studio or he just works through there. But, yeah, legit studio. That's why it sounds good.
Yeah. Their last 2 records sound great. I love the way they sound. I listened to both of them yesterday because I listened to this album for the show, and then I was just like, I fucking love American Steel. So I listened to the next record.
8 in the morning, you've been crying all night. Why do you wake me now? All these hours I've been sleeping peacefully. Your imagination has been running wild. Oh, honey, rest your wet nose on my chest. I'll make it alright. We do this every night. 'Cause I love you like a child of mine. I wish more like a friend sometimes. But hey, that's still love anyway, babe.
So, yeah, full disclosure, we love American Steel, like, a lot.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. Their American Steel, I remember listening to a lot in like 2009 when their last record came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2009, 2010, and then it kind of fell off. I didn't listen to them all that much. And then in the last 3 or 4 years, like they've crept back into my listening just from like, I guess, Spotify automatic playlists and recommendations. And like, I was just like, oh wow, I remember all these songs super well. Like I didn't even realize that. So I don't know. I don't know why they fell out.
I don't think they ever fell out for me. I'm pretty sure I've been listening to them consistently for the last 12 years, 13 years. I probably got into them around the time that their Dear Friends and Gentle Hearts came out, the record after this one. Yeah, it's probably the year I got into them, and then never really stopped listening to them. Maybe like in more frequently in the last 5 years than before, but I don't know. I distinctly remember those records being on every computer I've had in the last 13 years. So yeah, I knew this record super well going into this episode. Like this one and Dear Friends are the two I listen to the most. I haven't really listened to the albums before the name change. that much. I know I've listened to Rogue's March and Jagged Thoughts, but I don't love them quite the same way I like these two records.
Yeah, I mean, those two records do suffer from not quite as good of a sound.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the recording quality isn't as good, and really a lot of the things that make the instrumental portions of their music sound so unique aren't really refined there.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got some really, really great songs on both of those records. Some of my favorites, Optimist, Maria. There's great stuff. And I would say I probably find Jagged Thoughts more interesting of a record, because they do a lot more acoustic stuff on that record too. I think kind of differentiates it from the first album, which there's songs on Rogue's March that are not very memorable, and they just kind of blend in to the background. Whereas every song on their last two records are like super memorable.
Oh yeah,
full of hooks and just like awesome guitar playing and like really nice use of effects. I was trying to think of like how you would describe the sound of those records, because the songs themselves and like their voices are very reminiscent of like what Against Me was doing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
early Gaslight Anthem. There's just like a really strong like Clash undercurrent to their songwriting. But then like the guitars sound like Bryan Adams, like chorusy, like they do a lot of really interesting things that, I don't know, I think they sound really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. For the longest time, I used to say, for some reason, they reminded me of Alkaline Trio. And I don't really know why. Maybe that's more the next album. I don't know if it's just like the dual vocal thing where they take turns. But listening to this record again, I was like, oh, no, it's Against Me. Like, that's the sound that they're kind of channeling on this record specifically. Because it's 2007. It's the same year as New Wave by Against Me. So, like, Against Me's name was big. And they were on Fat Wreck at one point, and this record came out on Fat Wreck. So it's so funny to think that it's possible that Against Me influenced American Steel, even though American Steel has been around way longer than Against Me. Whatever it is, they decided to either... Maybe it's their indie stuff, too, though. They decided to focus much more on the melodies on this record than the previous records. Because I went back and listened to a couple tracks off those, and I was like, wow, their voices are way raspier on those early ones. Like, they're just full-on, like, throaty, screaming, almost like Leatherfacey, raspy vocals.
I mean, you have to think they were making music and singing for 6 years in between those records.
Yeah.
Like, they only got better.
Right. More melodic stuff in general, too. So, I guess they were like, well, let's just take some of those elements of the Communicate sound, like the melodies, and then like throw them in with our Clash influence. I even thought that some of the earlier American Steel records had a little bit of that, this may sound like an insult, but I don't mean it that way. A little bit of like the Choking Victim kind of real raw, not quite ska, but definitely Clash influenced. Lots of upstrokes.
Yeah, some Operation Ivy.
Yeah. Some up Ivy, yeah. And there's a little bit of that here. Like, there's a couple songs that still feature that here, but they went harder on the choruses. Because no matter how the song starts, if you like the riffs that they're playing or like how the verse is sung, by the time it hits the chorus, you are singing along if you've heard this record before. Because I was singing along to every single song on this record by the chorus. Even whenever it was like, I don't remember what song this is, when it would start in the verses. And then by the time I got to the chorus, like, oh, that's right, that's this one. It's this amazing chorus that I'm like screaming at the top of my lungs.
It's interesting that Rate Your Music has Jagged Thoughts with the highest score.
Yeah.
But this record is definitely the most listened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this record has a 3.59 with 68 reviews or ratings. Jagged Thoughts has the highest with a 3.73, and then it's Rogue's March with a 3.62. Rogue's March has almost as many ratings as Destroy Their Future, but Jagged Thoughts has like half. So take that. It's hard to say. You have to kind of weight the number of ratings with the score. But from what I've read, a lot of people consider, especially fans from the time period before Destroy Their Future, consider Jagged Thoughts their best record. So it's not surprising to me. I am surprised to see that Dear Friends has a 3.40, which puts it below Rogue's March. And I don't know, Rogue's March is, I guess that was the introduction for everyone.
Yeah, and it's a good record.
So anytime that an album is the introduction, then that tends to take a little bit of people's attention off the rest of their discography. It's a good album, but it's just not my favorite sound for them. I definitely prefer the later records. They put out a new 7-inch this year. It's not listed on here, but I really, 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 really hope this means they're going to record an album, because
I would love that.
It's been 10 years since they released an album, and I would very much like to hear a new record, because those two songs on the 7-inch are really good, but it's just two songs. So we got to see them at Fest twice this year.
Yeah.
If you listen to our Fest episode, we talked about seeing them the first night, but in case you didn't, we can recap it here. So American Steel was playing a mystery set at Boca Fiesta on Saturday night at Fest, and we assumed, because it was a mystery set and one of the smallest venues at Fest, that we probably wouldn't get in. So we just were like, all right, we'll watch Sprainerd. We like Sprainerd, and this is a reunion show for them, so we'll watch them. We'll check them out. But Sprainerd was playing in 8 seconds, which is the worst sounding venue with one of the worst views. The stage sucks. The sound is terrible. It smells like cigarettes.
Sounds like someone's cutting sheet metal.
Yeah.
Just every band sounds awful.
So it was one of those things where we watched Warriors play in there, and then Corey, who was supposed to be on this episode, and Lauren were like, we're going to try and go get into Boca to see American Steel. And we're like, all right, good luck. Because we were like, hey, you may not get in there. And then he texted saying, we got in fine.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh. He's like, you should come over. And I was like, well, I'd rather see American Steel play in a tiny room than Sprainerd play in a big room. So we made it over there. I'd seen Sprainerd more often than I'd seen American Steel anyway. I saw them play Fest 8, I want to say. That was the last time they played Fest. So we get over there, and as we're going over, he texts and says, well, wait, hold on. There is a little bit of a line.
So it was one in, one out.
Yeah.
But people kept going out and going to the bar,
mm-hmm.
and so they wouldn't let them back in. Like, if you went straight to the bathroom, they would let you back in, but...
Yeah, so,
because there's a bar inside. Like, there was a bar outside.
Yeah.
But people kept going into the bar inside.
I think it's because that bar was less... There's less people at it, so... So we we had to wait in line a little bit, and we missed maybe like the first 3 songs, but it was fine. We could hear them very clearly. It's just you just couldn't see them through the wall. That was the only real difference. And then we got inside, and then there were a bunch of Matthew Lillards, just being all rowdy as hell, and a group of people who some of them looked like Matthew Lillards, but they all had the energy of Matthew Lillard. So
Yeah.
And then the very next day, we saw them play again at Bo Diddley, which is the outside stage, which I don't love outside stages, but as far as outside stages go, that's one of the better ones. I'd rather watch a band at Bo Diddley than 8 Seconds. So
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
And they played pretty much the same set, and it was a little bit more professional, I guess. They were
They were a little tighter.
They were tighter.
They've been drinking all day.
Yeah.
I think whenever we saw them at Bo Diddley. So
No.
or not Bo Diddley, but Boca.
Yeah, they took a long time between each song too at Boca, but on the main stage they were definitely tighter, and like the songs were one after another. And we noted that Rory's arms looked extra swole on Sunday compared to Saturday. So I wonder if he got a pump on before he.
Yeah. Gotta look cut.
Yeah, because we were like, I don't remember
for the main photo opportunity.
We all noticed
he's probably a little dehydrated too.
Yeah,
from drinking so much the day before.
Because we all pointed it out. We're like, he didn't look like that last night.
How does he look bigger from further away?
But they were amazing. Like, God, they're so good. I love these songs. I love these 2 records a lot.
Listening to this record for this episode, I wanted to say that Dear Friends and Gentle Hearts was my favorite. Now that I've listened to both of them, I was wrong. Destroy Their Future is their best.
Yeah.
There's a couple weaker moments on the next record, but this one is almost perfect all the way through.
I agree. I probably used to say the same thing too. I used to say Dear Friends was my favorite. I don't know why. Maybe it's because
it was probably the it would have been the newest record at the time that you got into them.
Yeah, but I got into both these records at the same time. So
yeah, I guess.
They were both new to me. My going back and re-listening to Dear Friends, my biggest takeaway was, the back half isn't as strong. That's probably why. Yeah. The front half of Dear Friends has some of my favorite songs they've written. So I was talking to Corey about it, he was going to come on this episode to talk about this record with us, and he was saying he was very excited to talk about this one. So it's kind of disappointing that he's in here. But one of the things he said was that this is probably his favorite all the way through, but other albums may have some of his more favorite songs, which I can agree with that. But this record is the most consistently strong from front to back, and I agree. But even this album has like some of my favorite songs ever, like "Smile on Me" and "Hurtlin'," which is the acoustic song, which I have put on multiple playlists for my wife over the years. So I've probably heard that song more than any other on this record. And like "Dead and Gone." But even the weaker tracks, and quote unquote weaker tracks, are like "More Like a Dream" and "Don't You Remember." They all have these massive choruses. And I just said the words "More Like a Dream," and then I just heard the chorus in my head.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And there are some songs on here that just feel like quintessential American Steel. like Speako Heart and Old Croy Road, like those, to me, I think of those songs when I think of American Steel.
And those two songs probably have those two songs in particular probably sound and feel the most like their first two records.
Yeah.
Like those and Hurdlin', they have a similar feel to them. I don't know if it's just a rhythmic thing or because they kind of have that. They have that folky. Well, it's like the boxcar rhythm, you know, the Jawbreaker boxcar.
Yeah.
Kind of that almost a country rhythm. I mean,
like Speako Heart has almost a like shanty rhythm. Like
yeah.
Oh man, even though I've listened to this album multiple times this week, and I listened to it multiple times this year, and over the last decade, I want to like when we're done with this, I just want to go listen to it again. I don't.
Yeah, I can't do that because I'm gonna lose my voice. And I have band practice tonight, so
yeah, it is one that you're like you gotta sing along with when you're listening to it.
So I'll go listen to the one Communicate record that's on Spotify.
Yeah,
I won't know those songs. So.
Well, is there anything else you want to say about this record, or should we just give it a score?
Let's give it a score because I think we'll have more to talk about on the EP than might have originally thought we would.
Okay. I'm a 5-star man. I'm like I said, I've been listening to this album for at least a decade at this point, so it's one of my all-time favorite records, which is very funny to think about because I probably wouldn't just be like, if you had just asked me to say, what's your favorite records? I probably wouldn't name this specifically, but I probably should reconsider that because I really love this record a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to say a 4.75. I'm not going to go quite to 5-star because I know there was a gap in my listening to this band. And like you said, like if someone asked me to name 5-star punk records, I probably wouldn't say this one.
Yeah.
This one might not occur to me. Listening to it and then thinking about it and then listening and talking about it today, I could see it becoming a 5-star record for me. It's kind of like just naming it, you know?
Yeah.
Just like saying like, hey, I actually really do love this record. Like from beginning to end, it's a great record and I should probably listen to it a lot more often. I could see it becoming a 5 stars, but I'm going to leave it at 4.75 right now.
All right. So moving over to our EP, we got number 10 on the EP charts, and it is Trap Them and Seance Prime. Them were a hardcore band from Boston and Seattle. I'm not sure how that worked out, but that's how they're listed online. They formed in 2002. This was released on October 30th of 2007. Both these records October records. And it was put out on Death Wish Records. This was released between their first and second LPs, Sleep Well, Deconstructor, and Seizures and Barren Praise. And the personnel on this record are Ryan John McKinney on vocals, Brian Vincent Izzy on guitar, Nat Colin on bass, and Scott DeFusco on drums. It's produced by Kurt Ballou from Converge. Do we say the L's in his name?
Kurt Ballou? I've always said Kurt Ballou.
Yeah. And Nat also played in Transistor, and Brian also is in All Pigs Must Die. So... yeah,
I knew about the All Pigs Must Die thing. I didn't know about the Transistor.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That was pretty cool. I think he's just based in that band too, but he does some vocal work on that. I don't think he's the primary vocalist, but he definitely does some backing vocals. don't you start us off on this one? What did you think of this EP?
Well, every time I hear the name, I think of Optimus Prime. Traptimus Prime. I remember listening to this EP, probably not in 2007, or almost certainly not in 2007.
Nah, probably not.
But within the next few years, 2008, 2009, it would have come up, and I would have listened to it. I was not super thrilled to listen to it, but then when I listened to it, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. There's a couple weak songs where it's just like mushy, too crusty, too grindy.
Mm-hmm.
There's just nothing to latch onto for me, but there are some really good riffs, and the sound is, I mean, that's the sound of hardcore for like the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is one of those real early, real heavy hardcore crust records. And I was thinking just now, 2007, that's the beginning of the Death Wish, like, boom, where everyone shifted away from all the metalcore stuff that's on the charts for this year into real punk and hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is 2007. You've got this EP. You've got Martyr Immortal by Pulling Teeth. The next year, you've got Heavier Than Heaven, Lonelier Than God by Blacklisted. Let's see what else there is from 2007 specifically. There's Shipwreck AD. There's, I believe, a Rise and Fall EP.
Oh yeah. There's a lot. There's
This. I mean, this is where it starts. I mean, this is like Coliseum got really thrashy.
Mm-hmm.
No Salvation came out that year.
This is the beginning of what hardcore would sound like for the next 5 years.
I mean, it's the Nails,
mm-hmm.
like real grindy sounding stuff. HM2 core is what some people call it.
What is that?
The HM2 Boss distortion pedal sound. It's the entombed guitar tone.
Yeah, there's a lot of that on this record.
Yeah.
Tons of that. Yeah, I'd say 2007 is probably the year that sound broke. We used to always call it cursed worship.
Yeah.
Back then, and it kind of is, but this Captain's a little crustier, and a lot of those other bands are a little crustier and a little more grindy. But I think Cursed was a weird band because they had a lot more like black metal elements. But when Cursed broke up in 2008, then everyone decided they loved Cursed and started copying their sound very heavily and started wearing those he-goat shirts. And so that's just what hardcore turned into for the next 5 years. Our band, one of those. And
Yep.
which, to be honest, I kind of miss. Well, I do and I don't miss that sound. I miss new bands that sound like that because there's not really anybody doing that now. But there were so many of them that it was really hard to stand out.
Yeah. I mean, this is the era, well, a little later, post 2008, probably like 2008 to 2012, where I started phasing out of heavy music, of hardcore. More like 2010 to 2012 is when it started to phase out. It's probably the peak. So this sound that starts around 2007 to take over in hardcore for the next 5 years or so, like that's the last era of hardcore I really remember where I was actively paying attention to it. I'm vaguely aware of what hardcore sounds like now, but I'm not very into it. So
Hardcore is real ignorant again. We had a little period. So after this, the cursed worship sound, the integrity worship, I guess integrity is like the root of that sound in general. Then it moved into the more Nails grindy sound that became real dominant for a while. And then it switched into like a throwback thing where Indecision was like a huge influence. So you had like Foundation and you had Discourse and like other bands like that. So that was like the sound for a minute. And then it started to get a little more nu metal, which is not my favorite. And there's a lot of those bands right now still doing like the nu metal influence thing. But the most current trend I can think of now is weirdly going back to a 90s sound. So like bands like Magnitude and Eco Strike. So it's like it's a retro sound again, but it's more of the early 90s sound instead of the later 90s. So think more. We thought there was going to be a bigger Snapcase revival style, but really not as much as it turned out to be.
It's too hard.
Yeah, it's kind of going more back to Earth Crisis and Strife, like that kind of stuff, which is fine. It's great. It's a great sound. I prefer that sound to the more nu metal stuff. But we'll have something coming soon in our best of list that may address hardcore in the year 2019 a little better. So
this EP, there's a little bit of Converge too.
Which makes sense.
Citizenihilist, which is a very Norma Jean sounding song title.
Well,
I think that one
botch.
particular sounds, well, yeah, right. Sounds very, very Converge-y, like No Heroes, like time period too. I don't think they're as good at it.
No, which they would probably admit because they went in the thrashier direction.
Yeah. That being said, I do remember listening to Filth Rations, the next release after this, when it came out, and it really didn't stick. I don't know that I kept listening to anything. I can't remember.
Did you not listen to the big one? What was that called?
Well, actually, yeah, Seizures in Barren Praise is the next release, actually. But
that and I remember that and the Shipwreck AD record and the Blacklisted record, like all around the same time period. That's what everyone was talking about in hardcore.
I don't think I ever listened to Seizures.
They weren't my favorite. I think I preferred Blacklisted and Shipwreck better, and Pulling Teeth. But I definitely listened to Seizures because I saw Trap them. So I saw them on tour with Narrows, the post-botch band who had a record in 2008. And so they played in Charlotte and at the Tremont Music Hall on the Casbah stage. So it gives you an idea. Opening up for that show was a band called Monarchist, a Charlotte hardcore band that your old band would play with occasionally. And then also opening was friend of the show Josh Robbins' band, Meth Mountain, which we discussed when he was on. And I remember they had these like little couches in the venue that you could sit at while between bands or while bands played if you didn't care. And this is the show where I went with our other friend of the show, Grant McCracken, and we got there super early because we like gone to Charlotte during the day and like went to Lunchbox and just was hanging out in Charlotte. And we got there super early. We went inside, got paid, got our wristbands and all that because they did the dumb thing where you got charged extra $2 if you were under 21. So we were outside waiting, and we started to smell what we thought were donuts or some other kind of baked good. So because we had so much time, we decided we were just going to follow our noses and investigate where the smell was coming from. If you know the Tremont, you know it's not the best part of town. It's been since gentrified a little bit.
It has been heavily gentrified.
Yeah, so it's
all
not
apartment buildings.
It's not quite the same now, but as it was then. Back then, it was more industrial, like a lot of like warehouses and like shipping type buildings. But so we were still like just wandering around the the district and just like following our noses. We're like, oh, what is this smell? Like we were bound and determined to figure out where this smell was coming from. So we
stronger from over here.
Yeah, we did. So we were like walking up and down the street for like close to an hour trying to figure it out. And eventually we saw someone walking down the street and we were like, hey, do you smell that? Like that that smell? He's like, oh yeah. It's from this like industrial bakery we were standing near. He's like, one of these buildings is like a Little Debbie Hostess type bakery. And they're like, oh, okay. He said, yeah, they won't give you any.
Yeah.
Almost as if he'd asked before. And he was like, yeah, but there's a Dunkin' Donuts a couple blocks away.
Yeah.
So we were like, all right. So we walked all the way to Dunkin' Donuts just because we were like, well, we've been smelling baked goods for an hour, so we really want some now. And then we walked back, and we still got there before the first band played. So, yeah, that's my Trap Them story.
Was that 2010?
Yeah.
2009?
Yeah. 2009, I think. I think I found the flyer for it.
Yeah. I was trying to think of when you would see Narrows at the Casbah.
Yeah. It was... I have it right here. Thanks to Punks on Paper, John Rivera of Head First Records, cool ass site that collects old flyers from.
Yeah, if you like looking at old flyers, like even if you're not from North Carolina, I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, Punks on Paper. It's headfirstrecords.com/NC shows. Yeah, but if you just Google Punks on Paper, you'll find a flyer. It's just chock full of really cool ass flyers. Yeah, Trap Them Narrows, Meth Mountain and Monarchist, Tremont Music Hall, 8 o'clock, $10, November 17th, 2009.
So funny.
Yeah. The only thing I remember about Trap Them, I remember they were good. I remember liking Narrows better, but that's probably because I just like that sound better. The only thing I remember is that the lead singer had really long hair, and he, like, flung it around a lot. Like, that's all I remember about them. But that is also the show where I started an internet friendship with someone on Last FM that I am still internet friends with today.
So weird. Despite
never speaking in person. That's how weird. I have two Last FM internet friends that I've had for...
that's punk.
Yeah, for 10 years. That I've never talked to in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is funny. You used to make Last FM friends.
Tumblr friends.
Well, you started as Last FM friends, you moved or Tumblr, and then you would follow each other on both those sites, and then once the longer you followed them, then you would like start following Facebook and Instagram and MySpace and all that stuff, and yep, Twitter, yep, I'm still internet friends with both of those people, so I don't really have much else to say about this EP.
No, I don't either.
Let's give it a rating. You go first.
I'm gonna give this about a 3.25. Well, maybe even a 3.5. It's pretty enjoyable. It's very short. If you want a heavy fix and you don't want to spend a lot of time, this is a good one. It's not something I'm going to come back to. But I think that's just stylistically and genre, and most of the heavy stuff that I go back to is there's more of a personal connection to it. I'm going to say 3.5.
I'm going to give it a 3.0. I enjoyed it while I was listening to it, and nothing really stuck out to me beyond the tone of the guitars. Yeah, you're right. I probably never go back to it, but I also don't go back. I don't listen to EPs that often, so if I were to listen to Trap Them, I would just go listen to the full length that came out after this one. But I don't know if I would even do that. But they weren't one of my bands in my rotation regularly. Not to say they were a bad band or anything like that. They're just a little crustier and grindier than what I wanted to listen to. But yeah, that's where I'm at. 3.0.
What are we doing next week?
I don't know. What are we doing next week? Why don't you intro what we're doing next week?
Well, next week we are beginning, right?
Yeah.
Our retrospective of the teens.
Mm-hmm.
The 20 teens.
Mm-hmm.
What is the nickname for this decade? Is there one?
There's not one. For some reason, the people of these last 20 years have yet to come up with a term that we all agree on. The aughts, that was the 2000s. Where did we just say the 2000s? No one says the aughts. I've heard British people call it the noughties.
Yeah.
And that's real dumb, so we're not doing that. The teens. It'll be... what do you call the 1910s? It's 1910s, isn't it?
Well, let me see. What was the 1910 decade called? The teens.
Yeah.
The 1910s. That's it. No
Yeah.
nickname. No roaring.
Yeah. It's harder to say than like 20s, 30s, 40s. But, yeah. I can't believe we're going to enter a decade that we're going to refer to as the 20s next year.
I want full-on roaring 20s, flapper revival. Just, let's do it.
So yeah, we're going to do like a little retrospective of the last 10 years. We're going to focus on 2010 to 2018. We'll split it up into 2 episodes. And then at the very end of the year, we'll talk about the year 2019 when we do our best of. So yeah, we're just going to look at albums that came out in those years, what we were listening to, what some of the bigger trends in punk were. It's going to be punk-centric. But I should look up and see if there's any like punk adjacent records that we should be referencing. But yeah, well, just something fun, just to wrap up the year and the decade, which
I found someone say he's been calling it the tweenies.
That's perfect.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, no one names a decade until like 30 years later anyway. So
yeah,
we'll see if we come to one. A nickname in our retrospective.
Yep.
And that'll be an interesting little look back.
Yep.
Hopefully not too many cringes.
Well, continue to follow us on all the social medias. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at punklautapod. Our email address is punklautapod@gmail.com. And our website is punklautapod.simplecast.fm. And that'll do it for this week.